What I'm going to show you today is how we're going to go about fixing this. The first thing that we need to do is identify right side and wrong side rows. This is a wrong side row. This is another right side row. Do you see the difference between how the clusters of double crochet are, do you see how they're different? They've got this knot looking thing right here, and then these are just the nice twists, right? Also, the loop at the top looks different, and you have that nice braid look here. So we're going to identify, this is another wrong side row, and this is a right side row. This is where the first problem is. The first thing we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and, pick out all of these, kind of identify what we can pull on to undo, get scraps out and set them aside. It does not hurt to leave this tail through the stitches for now because it's going to hold our stitches. I'm actually going to go back probably just to here, and I'm going to insert my hook into my stitch by way of my knitting needle. And I'm going to pull that loop a little bit so I can insert my hook. Now that I have my hook inserted into the stitch as if I were already crocheting, and my yarn, my tail, is holding this, this cluster, I'm going to go ahead and insert my needle. So I'm just sticking it through the loops to hold those stitches. And then I'm going to come in here and pry the yarn out of my stitches. This tail I'm going to use to weave in the ends because I'm not ripping out an entire row and trying to fix it. So I have this as if I was going to yarn over and go into my stitch and start working, right? At this point, I'm going to go ahead and get out a contrasting yarn. So I'm going to just pull up the stitch just like you usually change colors with crochet. And I'm going to probably want to see about sliding the work off and finding that tail, which is right here. I can weave it back through if I want it there later. So I'm just pulling this out so that I have a little bit more control with this. So we're just going to work 3 double crochet. That's all I'm doing is just working 3 double crochet in these spaces here. So I'm moving this out of the way because I'm going to pick this next one apart. So I'll be holding this stitch as well. I'm just going to continue using my needle. I'll just wiggle the needle through here and then pull this out. I'm also going to hold these stitches up here so that I can pull this out. I have these stitches held and these. This one will probably be ripped out, so I have a longer tail. I'm going to crochet forward and slip my 2 yarns together when I reach the point where I have fixed all the stitches so that I can secure them later. I have flipped my work to the wrong side so I can begin picking out the stitches in the next row and work another patch of double crochet clusters. At this point, I'm going to slip a small crochet hook through the loops of the clusters in the row above. This will allow me to pull my working loop through each cluster as I crochet forward, so the patch is in one continuous piece. Before I make another 3 double crochet cluster in the next space, I need to also pull the working yarn through the cluster so it doesn't overlap on the outside of the cluster when I work my first double crochet. Just be sure when you work your double crochets that you're working with the working part of the yarn and not the part that's going to become the tail, or you'll have a mess on your hands. As you finish your 3 double crochet cluster, go ahead and continue working, pulling through your loop and then your working yarn and crocheting forward until you have patched up your section. Now that I have finished patching in my 3 double crochet clusters, I'm going to slip the loop from the cluster ahead through the loop on my hook to secure the 2 yarns together. This transition will be hidden inside the 3 double crochet cluster in the row above. Now I'll just snip the tail, draw the yarn through to fasten off, and weave in my ends.